A little bit of background if I've not met you before. My background is as an entrepreneur. I've built several different businesses over the last 20 years. I started my first company when I was 21 in Australia. I've been here for the last 16 years. I've got 3 kids. I live in Wimbledon. Basically I buy and sell businesses, run businesses. I've got a group of companies that I run today. I think I've had about 7 businesses where we've gone from 0 to $1 million in the first 12 months. I've had 3 businesses that have gone north of 10 million in valuation. So essentially I'm just up to my elbows in entrepreneurship most of the time. Sorry, what was that? Oh. Oh, nice. Very good. I've also written some books on entrepreneurship, including some of the stuff we'll talk about today. Has anyone read any of those books? Oh, very nice. Very good. Thank you. I get a pound every time as well. So, one of the main businesses I run is called Dent Accelerators. Dent, we've worked with 3,800 companies over the last 12 years. We've got offices in London, Sydney and Toronto. And then we've got a group of what's called growth services companies. So our growth services companies consist of all these different businesses. We've got publishing and media, we've got fundraising, we've got virtual assistants in the Philippines, and we've got all sorts of different things in the growth services. So it gives me exposure to the 3,800 companies that we work with, as well as the businesses that we've got. So, who has heard that at the moment it's not the best time to be in business? Has anyone heard that? They've actually dedicated a special section of the BBC website called the recession section, just in case you forgot. They want to make sure you know that it's a bad time to be in business. So they've got their little recession section of the website going strong there. Here's how I think about business. I don't think in terms of these big news events and all of that sort of stuff. I've been through the dot-com crash in the early 2000s and the 2008 global financial crisis and the pandemic and all of that sort of stuff. I've always come out the back of these things better than I went into them. I'm not afraid of them anymore. Here's what I think about. I think about something called demand and supply tension. Demand and supply tension basically means this. If you have a business that can look after 100 people per year, and you've got 1,000 people per year who want to work with your business, you don't really care about what's happening in the general economy. All you're focused on is just the demand and supply tension of your business. You're just in a position where you can't keep up with demand. You're going to be very happy no matter what happens. So let's get to 5 principles for getting oversubscribed, and let's talk them through nice and quick so that you can start applying these principles. So principle number 1 is only oversubscribed businesses make a profit. I want you to imagine that there was such thing as a profit god who handed out profit fairly, and the reason they hand out profit fairly is based upon the complexity of the business and how much you innovate and how much risk you take and all the things that you would imagine would be a fair reason for somebody to have profit. I think it would be safe to say that airlines should be very, very profitable if profit gods were handing out profit fairly, but as we know, airlines have about 5% margins at the best of times. Now, it's pretty crazy to think that these businesses have to take massive amounts of risk. They have to have 100% safety records. They've got to get you from point A to point B within a few minutes of their takeoff and landing slots. It's an incredibly difficult business to run, and yet 5% profit margins. Let's talk about a business that should not have profit, right? So there's a business called Rolex. And Rolex makes a product that has hardly innovated in the last 50 years. That Rolex looks roughly the same as the Rolex from 50 years ago. The Rolex is so easy to copy that there are people regularly copying them and making very convincing copies of Rolexes, and those convincing copies sell for a couple of $100, whereas the real thing sells for tens of thousands of dollars. They do terrible customer service. If ever you've worked with Rolex, it's horrific, right? You have to beg them to get one in the first place. If you need to send it in for repairs or something like that, they begrudgingly take it off you. They disappear for about 6 to 12 months, and then one day they tell you, here, have your watch back, right? So they're a funny one. However, the thing I can tell you about Rolex is they're massively oversubscribed. The demand outstrips the supply. The number of people who want to have a Rolex is far greater than the number of Rolexes that get made, and that drives the prices up and it drives the profitability up. Unfortunately, when it comes to airlines, it's fairly balanced. The number of people who want to fly on any given day is roughly equal to the number of seats that are available, and therefore it's not oversubscribed. So profit is not handed out fairly. Profit is handed out based on whether you're oversubscribed or not, right? So any restaurant that has a waiting list is going to be profitable restaurant. Any restaurant that has empty seats is going to be empty. So I just want you to think about that your profit really comes down to the balance between buyers versus sellers. 100 people who want to buy and capacity of 10, now you're going to be profitable. 10 people who want to buy, capacity to deliver 100, now you're going to make losses. And most businesses, something like 80 or 90% of businesses are nicely evenly balanced, 100 buyers, 100 sellers as a concept. So those businesses are able to pay wages and stay in business, but they're not really going to make much profit. So it's really this balance of demand and supply tension. So quickly, what does capacity mean? Capacity is your ability to leave people feeling delighted. So you've got to think about how many customers per year can I make them feel really positive and really delighted because they worked with me. Like Dan Todd, we all feel delighted to be a customer, so we are within his capacity. So the question you first have to ask her is how many people can you leave feeling delighted? That is your official capacity. So we're going to give that a name, and the name that we will give that is called official capacity. Your official capacity is how many people you can leave feeling delighted. Let's say you're a restaurant, you've got 50 tables, 5 settings a day, you've got 250 settings a day, that's your official capacity. Let's say you're a consulting firm, you can work with 8 mid-sized clients and 12 small businesses per year, that's going to become your official capacity. So what you have to do if you want to become oversubscribed is you have to set an official capacity for your business. That is the point at which you become oversubscribed. That is the point that you can leave people feeling delighted. So the first question and the first principle is, what is your official capacity? I want you to have a think about that. Now, because we're a little bit behind time, I'm just going to keep going, but I want you to keep that question in your mind. Normally we might brainstorm that, but I want you to just maybe even, if you've got a clear number, write down your clear number. Okay, the next thing is that your official capacity has to become oversubscribed with people. But the only people that matter are your people. Now, what do I mean by the only people that matter are your people? So we've got to oversubscribe you with people who are your people, the people who are warm to your business. What does that mean? Well, we like to think about markets, but there is no such thing as a market. We love to think about how many people are out there. If you're an entrepreneur, you love to imagine this big crowd of people. However, there is no such thing as a market. There are only individuals. There are only people who are making their own rational decisions about what they buy. And those people are really good at filtering you out. They don't want you in their brain. They don't want you in their awareness. So their perfectly healthy brain has something called a limbic system inside it. Limbic system is the system that keeps most things from entering your conscious awareness. So how does the limbic system work? You're walking down busy Oxford Street, thousands and thousands of people walking past you. You get to the end of the street and I stop you and I ask you, describe some of the people you just walked past. And your brain goes, I got no idea. I can't remember any of the people I just walked past. That is your perfectly functioning limbic system filtering people out, right? Not important, not important, not important. That is what's happening to your business every single day. You're out there screaming about what you do and why it's valuable, and people's limbic systems are just going blip, delete, 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 right? So that's why you don't get the marketing results that you want. So there's only a few things that get through the limbic system. Very small number of things get through the limbic system. Most of them are not necessarily helpful. The first thing that gets through the limbic system is something scary. So if you make your business scary, it will get through the limbic system. That is the strategy of the news, right? The news loves to do that one. You could also make your business very strange. If you dress up as a hot dog, you might get through people's limbic systems. For most of you, that's not going to be your preferred strategy. The third one is you could make your business sexy, and many of you could not do that even if you wanted to. The strategy you can do is you can give away free gifts, so free stuff gets through, right? When you're giving something of value away for free, people notice that. If you were walking down Oxford Street, someone's giving away GQ magazines or Vogue magazines, you're going to go, oh, I'll have one of those, thank you very much. You're going to notice someone giving away something as a free gift. So giving free gifts away, the businesses that tend to do really, really well and scale up fast, they give away a lot of free gifts, right? Google, we like Google because Google gives us lots of free stuff that we use every day and doesn't charge us anything for it. So businesses that do really well tend to be businesses that know how to give away free things. And the final thing that gets through is the familiar or the friendship. Imagine you're walking down Oxford Street and you see someone on the other side of the street who you went to school with and you've spent years with them, but you haven't seen them in for years. Isn't it strange how your brain picks their face out of a crowd and you go, oh, wow, there's Glenn. Oh, hey, Glenn, how you going? I didn't know that you were here. And you literally will go across the street to see your friend. So that's because someone is familiar to you. So this is a science, and we have to get good at understanding this science. It's the science of knowing, liking, and trusting someone. And this is really important that we understand this as marketing professionals. How do people get to know, like, and trust? So there's some really good research on this. And the research says that there is this thing called Dunbar's numbers, and it was done by Professor Robin Dunbar, if you want to look up the research. But it essentially said this. It says you've got these circles of friendship groups or circles of people that you're acquainted with, and you've got about 15 people who are really close friends, going right out to about 1,500 people that you can put a name and a face to. In order for you to sell something to someone, you're going to have to be in those circles, right? They're going to have to know who you are. They're going to have to know, like, and trust you. So Robin Dunbar discovered that it takes about 7 hours worth of contact for someone to move into the acquaintance zone. So if you spent 7 hours with someone, you're going to feel like you know them, like them, and trust them. If you were imagine yourself on a long flight, sitting next to someone, having a long chat, by the end of that flight, you're feeling quite close and connected to that person because you've spent 7 hours with them. So Robin Dunbar said, businesses have to figure out how to spend 7 hours with people before they know, like, and trust your brand. Google did the research as well. They put it a different way. They went through your shopping habits and they looked at when you bought something, and then they looked through your history and said, how many times did you touch that brand before you bought that thing? And they discovered that it was 11 interactions on average. It was actually 10.7s, right? So 10.7 interactions, or we'll just call it 11 interactions. So you're interacting with Louis Vuitton and you're looking at it and looking at it. Should I buy it? Should I not buy it? Oh, I like that brand. Oh, I'll check that out. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yes, I'm going to buy that, right? So you stalk it like an animal. Has anyone ever stalked a product like an animal? Is anyone currently stalking a product? Who's stalking clothing? Anyone stalking clothing? Yeah, anyone stalking a bag or shoes? Anyone stalking shoes at the moment? Yeah, I'm stalking some hiking shoes. My hiking shoes broke on my last trip, and I'm now currently in the process of stalking Mammut shoes, or there's another brand called Scarpa, and I'm like stalking them, and I'm like clocking up my 10.7 interactions with those brands. So think of it as the 7-11 rule, 7 hours, 11 interactions. That's the thing that gets people to feel acquainted with you. So imagine that people buy from your business a bit like this. They warm up and they do that digitally. They stalk you digitally for 7 hours or 11 interactions, and then they talk to your business and they feel like buying something once they've been through that process. So when we talk about the only people that matter are your people, we're talking about the people who have gone through this warm-up process. So zoom out and look at the marketplace. There's the market. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, there's a person inside that market, and some of them are going to listen to your podcast, and they're going to go through and listen to episodes of your podcast. Some of them are going to read a copy of your book, and they're going to go, oh, spend 7 hours reading the book. Some of them are going to go to your YouTube channel, and they're going to watch some of the videos that you've got on YouTube, and they're going to follow you on social media and all of that sort of stuff. And then the 7 hours and 11 interactions that they have move them out of being in the market and move them into being your tribe. So the 7 and 11 piece pushes them out of just a generic market and makes them part of your tribe. I'll give you a really good classic example. I wouldn't consider myself to be a heavy metal fan. I don't listen to a lot of heavy metal, but I love Metallica, right? So, yes. Yeah. Right? So, I got into Metallica when I was a kid, and I listened to the Black Album in 1992 on repeat over and over and over and over. I've been to many Metallica concerts. I have a special spot in my head for Metallica, and if Metallica comes to London, I'm going to be at Metallica. But all the other heavy metal bands, I don't even notice them. I don't even think about them. So I'm in the Metallica tribe, but I'm not actually in the heavy metal fans group. So I've been 7-Eleven'd by Metallica. So how many people do you need to 7-Eleven? You need a tribe that is 20 times bigger than your official capacity. That's the number. So if your official capacity is 100, you're going to need to have a couple of thousand people in your tribe in order for you to get oversubscribed. Does that make sense? Can everyone get that concept? The concept of your tribe is 200 and your capacity is 10, and that is what creates demand and supply tension. When your tribe becomes 20 times bigger than your official capacity, you start to get oversubscribed. Now, the way to make this really happen quickly is to position yourself and your personal brand as a key person of influence. This is how to do it on fire. This is how you really speed it up. It's almost impossible to do this as a company brand. You have to do this as a personal brand if you want to get cut through in today's marketplace. Why do I say that? Look at Richard Branson. He's been banging on about Virgin for the last 50 years. He's got 13.5 million people. Virgin's only got a couple of 100,000 followers. If any brand was going to catch fire, it would be Virgin. It's a great brand. It's across all sorts of things. We like Virgin because we like Branson, and that's the truth. Jessica Alba, she constantly talks about The Honest Company. They've got 1 million followers. She's got 20 million. I find this one interesting. Tim Cook has 14 million followers. He tweets occasionally, and he speaks about 3 times a year at Macworld. Apple is considered to be the most powerful brand with the most Apple fans of all brands, or the most engaged fans of big company tech brands. But Tim Cook's got twice as many followers. Apple's a 50-year-old company. Tim Cook's been the CEO for about 11, 12 years. One football player has more than double the amount of followers than every single Premier League team combined. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because if you think you're going to get a breakthrough with your business brand, you're very much mistaken. Nobody cares. No one cares about your business brand. They only care about your personal brand. If you're going to get any cut through whatsoever, it's going to be because you are a key person of influence. Once they follow you, they might be interested in your business. It will not happen the other way around. It just never happens, right? So you have to be the key person of influence. You are who Google says you are. And you've got to be able to elevate who Google says you are. When someone Googles you, it's got to come up with videos and podcasts and books and all of that sort of stuff. So really, really important that you read this book, Key Person of Influence. I've got some copies here today. In the book, it'll tell you exactly how to become a key person of influence: pitch, publish, product, profile, partnership. And when you're ready to do that and you want to work with us on that, we're the experts in it. We've been doing it for 12 years. You can do this thing where you book a one-to-one session with us, totally free of charge, and we'll talk you through your personal brand when you're ready. How many hours are you sharing with people, right? Where are you on the 7-Eleven 4 thing? So here's the question I've got for you. If I was to spend all of tomorrow Googling your name and watching and reading all the stuff that you've put out there on the internet, how many hours could I spend going down the rabbit hole? Could I get to 7 hours worth of content? Quick question. You're a 7-hour person? Yep. Who here is definitely, you've got more than 7 hours worth of stuff already online, right? So this is great. You're well primed to build a brand. Who's a long way away from that, right? Your personal brand. So you're going to have to up the game on this in 2023. Principle number 3, first you make your market, then you make your sales. This is a really important principle. I'm going to try and do it as quick as I can to stay on time. First you make your market, and then you make your sales. So rather than going out and trying to sell stuff and shouting at people and saying, would you like to buy this thing that I've got, right? We don't want to do that. What we want to do instead is collect signals first and then sales. First we ask for signals, then we ask for sales. If I was to say to you, who here is ready to commit to buying some new CRM system software for their business, right? a lot of you are going to go, that's a big commitment, I'm not ready to do that. You'd have to be 100% ready for that. If instead I said, who here is less than 100% satisfied with your current CRM system and software? Many of you would say, yeah, me, and that would be a signal of interest. Now, I can take a soft signal of interest and warm that up, but it's very hard. If I create a binary situation of you either buy or you don't buy, right, most of you will just not buy. So you have to get good at asking for signals as opposed to asking for sales. Glastonbury are the best at doing this. They do not let you buy a ticket to Glastonbury. All you're allowed to do is register your interest in going to Glastonbury. 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 people register their interest, and there's only 130,000 tickets available. So what they do is they oversubscribed with those soft signals of interest, and then at the very last minute, they tell you, now is the moment, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you can buy your ticket, and they typically sell out in about half an hour. Right? So it's incredible how fast they do this. The best entrepreneurs in the world are very, very good at signal collecting rather than selling. Elon Musk did not go out and try and sell Cybertrucks. He showed the marketplace a Cybertruck, and he said, if you're interested in a Cybertruck, you can put down a refundable deposit of $100, and that will signal to us that you're interested and you're going to be in the waiting list for a Cybertruck. Now, over 1 million people went out and put down a signal of interest. 1 million people said that they'd be interested in one. That allowed him to go out to the marketplace and raise all the money for the factories. It allowed him to be able to make a big splash in the media. And it allows people to be excited when the Cybertruck becomes available because they want to get one first. Right now at ScoreApp, one of my businesses, we are launching AI tools. AI is going to, by the way, I do disagree with some of what's being said. AI is massively going to change everything. Some of the stuff we see behind the scenes, where we've got a guy who's a top 100 professor in the UK or in Europe on our advisory team, Professor Andy Pardoe, who heads up AI research. Some of the stuff coming down the pipeline is going to make your toes curl. Like, the stuff that's coming is insane. Anyway, we've got the AI tools ready, but do we release the AI tools straight away? No. What we do is we start a waiting list. Thousands of people join the waiting list, which is signals of interest, and then we onboard people at about 100 to 200 at a time. Now, the reason we do that is not just simply to maintain demand and supply tension. It's because if we're launching a new product or a new service, we want to make sure it does what it says. We want to test it with small numbers of clients before we ramp it up to large number of clients. But I can tell you, it's a lot easier to get people to join a waiting list than to commit to buying something. So we just we're milking the waiting list for all it's worth at the moment, right? Thousands and thousands of people joining the waiting list, because that is a perfect moment in time for us to massively grow our database by giving people something easy to do to signal interest rather than something more complex to do. So we email people and we say, are you ready to join the waiting list, right? Now, you can do this. You can ask people for signals of interest. It looks something like this. You might say, have you given up on XYZ results? Have you given up on fitness? Have you given up on becoming more profitable? We're launching a new thing in May. This is perfect for people who want to improve X, Y, and Z. Are you still interested in that? If you are interested in that, let me know and I'll send you the details as soon as they're ready. Now, what people will do is respond and email back and say, I am interested in that. That is a signal of interest. So this is how we begin the oversubscribed side of things. So how can you ask for signals of interest? Strong signals of interest. If people book for an event or a workshop, a free event or a free workshop, that is a very strong signal of interest. If people join a group, like a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, that is a very strong signal of interest. I've launched several businesses where the first thing we've done is go out to market and build 500 people into a group. And by just building the group, we know that we've got that many signals of interest, and it's much easier to then build the business. Responding to DMs, if you're DMing back and forwards, that's a signal of interest. But the big one is completing a scorecard. And completing a scorecard is phenomenal because you get all the data. So how does that work? Well, we've got this key person of influence scorecard. People go online, they fill in all the forms, they answer all the questions. There's about 40 questions. They get a report. And then on the back end, we get to see how they answered every single question. We can see exactly what the key points are that that they've done. So I wrote a book called Scorecard Marketing. Has anyone read this book? Yeah, fabulous, right? So it's a good little way of setting this up as a campaign. It is powerful. If you've got any other content that's performing, link it to a scorecard, because it really does change things. Everyone who does this says that it becomes one of their top lead generators and strong signal generators in the first short amount of time. So the question for you is, how could you be asking for more signals this week? How can you be getting out there, asking for strong signals and building the demand and supply tension? Principle number 4, people buy to resolve tension. The only reason people buy anything is because they feel a sense of tension and that they want to resolve that tension. People do not buy airline seats. The way people work is that they're sitting in their current location and they're imagining a desired location, and they think about all the things that they would be willing to do to get there and all the things that have to be solved, and then they buy the airline ticket. The way people buy is this. This is the DNA of why people buy. Current reality is separate from desired reality, and that there are obstacles and criteria in the middle that are causing tension. Right? So that's why people buy anything. Once people get clear about those 3 parameters, they get clear about current reality, they get clear about desired reality, they get clear about obstacles and criteria. After that, you can show people a path of least resistance, and they experience joy because they go, aha, I can relieve the tension by taking that path of least resistance. That is every sale that's ever been made. That's how it works. Your business needs to get good at building that tension, helping people get clarity. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's in the way? Here's the path of least resistance. Boom, the sale gets made. Going back to these scorecards, these are incredible at helping people to get clear about where they are now, where they want to be, and what's in the way, and then demonstrating a path of least resistance that perfectly matches where their shortcomings are. So it's a really powerful strategy. If you do try this, you've already got templates. As of next month, which is about a week away, we actually have AI tools that write your entire scorecard for you. If ever you've set up a scorecard campaign, probably took you 3 or 4 hours, it's going to take you 3 or 4 minutes. Right? Incredible. And if you want to read about how to do it, it's in this book here. I'll give you this at the end. Alrighty, I've got a few minutes left. I want to skip through and I want to do principle 5 and then show you how to bring this all together for the year ahead. So principle 5 is people buy when the conditions are right. So what's amazing is if you get all of this right, and if you get this last principle, you get a stampede of customers. It's incredible. We triggered a stampede of customers this week, and we are booked out. I actually came here with all of these slots in the diary so that you could book in and talk to the team, and now we're booked out for the next 2 weeks, right? So unfortunately, it works too well sometimes. So you can trigger a stampede of clients who want to work with you. So here's what has to happen. The final ingredient is this. People buy when the conditions are right, and there's 3 things that have to happen for that to happen. Number 1 is that they have to have a logical reason for working with you. A logical reason can always be expressed on an Excel spreadsheet. If you can't show someone an Excel spreadsheet as to why it makes sense for them to work with you, unfortunately, you don't have a good logical reason for people to work with you. So they need to have a logical reason to work with you. Number 2, an emotional reason. They have to like you. They have to want to work with you. It has to feel good to work with you. So we need logic and we need emotion. And number 3, we need a sense of urgency. That it needs to make sense that I should work with you now rather than waiting 3 or 6 or 12 months. Now here's the downside, or here's the bad news. Every single person in this room is naturally gifted at one of those things and less so with the other 2. Some of you are very logical. You're really good at making logical arguments. You don't tell many stories. You don't do the fluffy stuff with the emotional stuff. So therefore, you just don't do that. And you certainly don't do the urgency thing like the Americans would. Right? Some of you are super good at the emotional stuff. You pour your heart out, you connect, you hug each other, you lick your clients' faces. Right? But you don't make the logical argument, right? And some of you are Americans, and like you start every conversation with, I'm going to sign you up today, right? And you forget about the logic and the emotion first. So you've got to get good at all three of these if you want to make more sales: logic, emotion, and urgency. Okay, let's bring it all together. Final thing, I know I've got a few more minutes, but here's what we've got as our final way of bringing this together. I want you to imagine the next 12 months, you're going to run 3 campaigns simultaneously. Now this, what I'm about to show you, this is how I've done 7 businesses, 0 to $1 million in the first 12 months. And this is how we've scaled up to 3 companies to 10 million plus. And it's going to look super simple, but this is what works. So the 3 campaigns that you run, you're going to run an online campaign, which is going to be your 7-11 message. And this is going to be your big message where you build 7 hours, 11 interactions with people using social media and digital assets. And you're going to constantly refresh 7 hours and 11 interactions. 7 hours, 11 interactions. The 4 stands for 4 platforms, making sure that you're on 4 locations there. So this is going to be your 7-11-4 campaign. The second campaign that you run is called a quarterly spotlight. Once a quarter, you're going to do something that's super interesting and engaging, that's different from what you normally do. This, by the way, is a perfect example of a spotlight campaign. And then the final campaign is called the weekly lapse, or the perfect repeatable week. And this is where you're going to do something every single week that just brings in leads, appointments, and presentations and sales, and you're going to make sales every week. So this is your day-to-day boring campaign. I personally have mostly made most of my money by doing really boring stuff. People know me for the big spotlight campaigns and the online stuff, but most of the money happens on the weekly boring campaigns, the perfect repeatable week campaigns. So perfect repeatable week, super simple idea. You're going to take 40 weeks of the year, because you can't work all the weeks. You're going to split your official capacity across the 40 weeks, and you're going to find a predictable set of activities that generate that number of clients, so that if all you did for 40 weeks was repeat that same campaign over and over and over again, it would generate your full capacity for the year. For me personally, it's scorecards. Every single week, we get scorecards filled in. Those scorecards go to the sales team, and the sales team talk to people, and we just have this constant stream of scorecard leads, scorecard leads, scorecard leads. We call this LAPS, and it stands for leads, appointments, presentations, and sales. Every single week we run our LAPS. LAPS, 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 LAPS. A lead is a scorecard that comes in. An appointment is someone who books in the diary. A presentation is that we present the value that we offer. And a sale is that they sign up at the end and become a customer. We do that. That's our scorecard campaign, and we call that our LAPS, our weekly LAPS. And that's one of the things that we cover in there. Quarterly spotlight. Here's how you do a quarterly spotlight. You position yourself as a key person of influence, and every single quarter, you find a way to get up on a platform with someone who's got a bigger brand than you do, right? So I used to run these events constantly where I was standing on stage talking to people who had a big brand, and I constantly, every quarter, figured out a way to be on a podcast or figured out a way to be on a stage with someone who had a big brand. I did it with all the dragons on Dragon's Den. When I first arrived in the UK, I realized that Dragon's Den was a big thing, so I booked all the dragons to come along and speak at our events. And how did I build my personal brand? I just stuck myself on the stage with people who had a bigger personal brand than me. Every quarter, we do something that kind of re-engages people. The thing we did last week was called the Lifestyle Business Summit. We did a digital version, we did a live version last year, and it was a great little event, and we had some guest speakers, and it was a great way to re-engage. So every single quarter, we are doing stuff that engages people at that level. And then the 7-11-4 message, that's the one that's going to be on social media all the time. We're going to pick a couple of key ideas, and we're just going to bang on about them for 12 months. And we're just going to bang on and bang on and bang on about them, because people don't hear things for the first time until they've heard it for the 7th time. So we're just going to talk about it over and over and over. What are we going to do? We are going to talk, 7-11-4, 7-11-4, 7-11-4. And what's it going to look like? We're going to basically have a big message, and we're going to go on and on about the big message. Now, you don't talk about your product on social media. You talk about something that's adjacent to the product. If you're selling Fitbits, You don't talk about Fitbits, you talk about how important it is to get 10,000 steps a day in. Right? And then people go, oh, I get it. I want to have 10,000 steps a day because I want health and weight loss, so I better get a Fitbit. You don't talk about your book, you talk about how ancient monk wisdom is the key to success in the complex modern world. Right? You talk about how becoming a key person of influence, the key to business success, collecting more data is the key to finding perfect clients. So you're talking about a big idea without talking about your product. And that's what you need to do on social media. Talk about the big ideas without going in and talking about what people need to buy. And that works really, really well. So you've got to figure out what is your big idea that you can talk about all year long. And then you need to put that onto your campaigns that are there. Your 7-Eleven 4 campaign, your quarterly spotlight, and your perfect repeatable week. And if you do those things, you will manufacture demand and supply tension like clockwork. We do this across all the businesses, and all the businesses are oversubscribed, and they're all profitable, and they're all growing. And I don't have to spend any time inside any of them. I don't run any of those businesses. I just simply make sure the team are doing those campaigns throughout the year. Let me skip Q&A because I know we've got a big name speaker coming up. I know that who's much taller, more handsome, and better looking. Next step. I'm just joking. I'm not really that crushed by. Oh, I'm a little bit crushed. So next steps. Here's what you can do if you want a next step. If you're ready to become a key person of influence and you'd like support and help from our organisation, we've been doing this for the last. We've been doing this for 12 years. We've worked with 3,800 business leaders from multi-billionaires right through to startups. We're really damn good at it, and we've got a whole game plan for it. First step is you just talk to our team. You book a one-to-one. Now, here's the thing. We're oversubscribed for the next 2 to 3 weeks. We've got no slots available to talk to anyone for the next couple of weeks. We're really booked out at the moment. So as a way to make sure that you're happy to wait until we can talk to you in a couple of weeks, if you book a one-to-one session, number one, I've got some books here of the Key Person of Influence book, so you can read that before the session. All you'll need to do is just show that you've booked a one-to-one and there's books outside, and you can get one of those books. And also, if you book a one-to-one, we'll send you the recording of the Lifestyle Business Summit that we just ran. It was a really great event. And we'll send you the video recording of that. So you book a one-to-one, you get the video recording, get the book, and then we'll be able to talk to you in a couple of weeks. The next thing you can do if you want a next step is you can start a 30-day free trial with Score App. We'll also send you the book Scorecard Marketing. We'll make sure that you've got that. And you can begin your first laps campaign, so you get regular leads, appointments, presentations, and sales, and you can have your online scorecard. Many of you, if you get yourself the first 30-day free trial on Score App, many of you will actually, inside your trial, get access to the AI tools when they go live, and you'll actually be able to start using AI to build a campaign in a matter of minutes. I hope that's been useful. I hope that's been interesting and fun. Have a great time with Joe.